I think it has. Yep, we're live. No question about it. All right, here we go. It's the Monday, real news. Yes, we will be doing Road Patrol Live later. Folks, again, delightful weather, nice and dry. Look at that, sunny, 61. Tomorrow, sunny, 56. Wednesday, all nice sunshine, dry weather. We're going to be live in just 3 minutes on this Monday, November 18th. So last full week, then next week, Thanksgiving, and then we're into the holiday season. By the way, though, that doesn't impact Road Patrol Live. If the weather stays mild, then we'll just keep rolling. It was amazing. What a weekend. Very, very happy with the way the weekend played out with Road Patrol Live, right? So right now we are live on X. We are live on YouTube. Boy, the YouTube channel really starting to grow. I like the new strategy. Yep. The new strategy is paying off, I should say. I don't know what it could hit. What could we hit for the final end of the year? I don't know. We'll find out. All right, we are live in just 2 minutes. 2 minutes, folks. Terrible story on Narragansett. And that boy is from East Greenwich. Oh, my goodness. So terrible. I know that people say a prayer, which is fine. But I also think I think it's an opportunity and time to speak with young people. What's we don't know all the details, obviously, of what happened. We have an idea of what happened, know that stretch of road, but people that just say prayers or put them by the way, that emoji symbol is actually two people high-fiving, and then they turn it into that it's prayer. It's actually just two people high-fiving. Nonetheless, I'm going to touch on that in just a moment. Okay, there we go. Yep, terrible. This Dana Scholes. Dana, I love that shirt. Look at Dana jumps in. She is just, there's great, and then there's Dana Scholes great. New level of greatness. All right, folks, and there we go, 106 on this Monday. Hola, folks, sun is out. Boy, all this talk, the Democrat Party is wrong at everything. Is this the climate change that they've been warning us about? Trying to figure out what exactly would be the problem that it's 61 degrees, 62 degrees on November 18th. All right, so we get a little heavy rain here and there. I mean, could this be the norm over the next couple of months? Does this mean January and February temperatures get down to what, 30? I mean, they're just wrong on everything. But anyhow, it is Monday. This is the real news. This portion of our program, folks, I want to thank. I heard from a number of different people that went to the home show. It was this past weekend, and they loved seeing our friends at Dreammaker. I understand it. Kitchen or bath. If you're listening or watching, right now, we're live on AM 1380, 99.9 FM. We are also live, true, Facebook, X, and YouTube. As our platforms just continue to grow. I'll have to figure out later what do I project we're going to be at the end of the year. It's getting much higher than I thought it was going to be. But anyhow, folks, this is who you want to contact. Let me be very clear. Let me put it this way. If President Trump was in our area, 508-401 area, I just remembered someone I need to call after the show. Folks, he would want to deal with Dreammaker. Bath and Kitchen. Call them 401-433-7272. Their beautiful design center, Greenwich Avenue in Warwick. They're right next to Kachai, right near Crown Plaza. Dennis and Christina, they're a joy, but it is absolutely fantastic what they will do for you in your kitchen or bath with Dreammaker. And I mean it. If President Trump were in Rhode Island, I'm telling you right now, he would want to deal with Dennis and Christina of Dreammaker, because there's certain categories. Listen, respect, integrity, customer focus. America is back or coming back. Dreammaker, Bath and Kitchen. Right now, on this Monday, you're thinking of a new kitchen or bath, residential, commercial. This is who you call. The search is over. Dreammaker, Dennis and Christina, 401-433-7272. If you log on to DePietro.com, you will see we have some of the video up. A very busy weekend with Road Patrol. Folks, don't forget DePietro.com, which is brought to you by the Cohasset Inn, 226 Cohasset Avenue, West Warwick. Remember, lunch, dinner, drinks in the lounge, the market at Cohasset. They're waiting for you at the Cohasset Inn. Perfect. If you have people coming in, maybe you want to do a little reunion. Thanksgiving coming up. That weekend is a big weekend to see people. Cohasset Inn can accommodate a group or maybe a holiday party. The Cohasset Inn. Plenty of free, safe parking. 226 Cohasset Avenue in West Warwick. I do want to just touch on, this is one of those stories that I don't know the family well, but I have met the little boy who was involved, or he was a little boy the last time I saw him. And he was, I know he played tennis. My kids played tennis with him. And then I think he was also on the wrestling team. But Narragansett police have identified 2 occupants killed in a single vehicle crash, Mumford Road, early Saturday morning. And folks, if you look Mumford Road, it's the end of Mumford Road, but it actually goes into, if you're on Boston Neck Road, say you're coming from wherever, Bonnet or the Willows, and then you're going to take that to get to Route 1. You would take that road. It curves around, and motor vehicle crash, single vehicle involved with 4 occupants. 2 of the occupants, Andreas Naranjo, age 26. So he's right between 2 of my children, and Samuel White, age 24. I don't know him. Both of South Kingstown. Pronounced dead at the scene. 2 other occupants transported to a local hospital for treatment of their injuries. Folks, I don't know. You know, I was thinking about this last night, and it's something that I don't think enough people talk about. But there's several things actually that. Oh, hold on one moment. Not exactly sure what happened. We just cut out there. We're fine right now on the on our platforms, but for whatever reason, it just clicked off. So there we go. So I was thinking about this. There's 2 things that at 111 on this Monday. There we go. Remember, AM 1380, 99.9 FM. You can always listen online at the website, DePietro.com. I don't think enough people talk about, and maybe young people take it for granted, so I'm youngest of 7, and my older siblings, it was almost, I was very young at the time, and when they just started to change it. I remember when those kids in Burrillville for the graduation party were in that horrible crash. I knew one of the kids that went to Bishop Hendricken. I didn't know any of the ones involved. But when you think back, because of my older siblings, I remember where prom and graduation, it was almost accepted that there were kids, young kids, teenagers, graduation parties, prom parties. The drinking age for me was always 21, but my older siblings, I remember hearing about when it was 18. And as a society, people finally said, like, this is crazy. Every homecoming, prom, graduation, it was almost accepted that someone was going to wrap their car around a pole, alcohol involved, or go through the windshield or something like that. And then people started to come up with designated driver. And then people started to warn. And I think by and large, the public service announcements, police, number one, started to crack down more. I think the public service announcements of the designated driver came into fruition. Now, now with the rideshare services, which is Uber or Lyft, you just call them or on the app, excuse me, you don't even have to call anyone, and they drive you. So I think something like this. Now, again, we don't know exactly what happened, but time of night, that curve was 1 o'clock. Now in Narragansett, the bars close at 1. I don't know all the details, but it's very reasonable to think that at that time they were leaving somewhere, maybe even sitting down, and someone gets behind the wheel. I don't know any of the details, but I don't think it's that far off to think someone was impaired and got behind the wheel. And then if you handle, especially the thing about speed is, now I know that I'm pretty sure the speed limit on that road, I believe, is around, believe it or not, 25 miles an hour. So it starts at Boston Neck Road, and you're going to weave around to the tower. And it actually brings you right in front of Paul Massey. But my point is, I know that because you have to be careful. I've seen when they have the radar gun out, it's really easy to go 35 miles an hour. It'd be even easier to go even faster than that. But I think instead of just prayers, I think situations like this should be where people for instance, I believe every college and high school should be talking about what happened today and over the next few days, because we think that people know you can't get behind the wheel when you are impaired. But could it be that there was no influence involved? It's possible that it was simply speed. Something that I think we can safely assume would be they weren't going 25 miles an hour. They weren't going 35 miles an hour. Normally, if you're going 25 or 35 miles an hour and you get into some kind of an accident, most of the time with seat belts on, it's not a fatality. Plus now you have the airbags. So I don't know, but my point is, I see that, and I'm not trying to reprimand anybody here, but I just see that so many people just fall into prayers of the family. I think this should be a reminder to young people. See, this is why you have a designated driver. This is why you have ride services. Now, again, because of URI and all the URI kids, now these kids are post that, right? 24, 26. I would think the URI area, I don't know, but I would think that area has a number of kids that are Uber drivers or Lyft or rideshare service, whatever it is. So I would think that you have that option. My point is, just to put a period in this, I think something like this should be used as an example. See, this is why you have the designated driver, or this is why you have the rideshare services, to avoid this. Young people make mistakes. My dad used to say, you can't take an older head and put it on young shoulders. When you have that mix. Now, keep in mind, because of Governor McKee, the state is now also being totally inundated with substances. I don't hear or see any public service announcements of the danger of and I'm just, again, I don't know the specifics of what happened. No disrespect. They have It's just you can't. Unbearable grief. You don't want to think about what they're going through. But nonetheless, with young people, I don't know. Someone has a couple of drinks and then they have an edible. And those things, who knows? Maybe they feel the effects within a half hour. Maybe they feel the effects within an hour. Maybe it's 3 hours. When edibles first became legal in the state of Colorado, that started it all, I remember, I think the columnist was Maureen Dowd of the New York Times. She flew to Colorado, booked a hotel room, and got some of the edibles. And she took it. And I still remember the column. She said she wasn't feeling anything. And all of a sudden, as she was walking across the room, she barely could make it to the bed. It like, boom, hit her hard. And then she just, crashed on. So my point is, I don't hear anything about that. I hear about a governor who never talks. This administration, if Governor McKee is consistent about anything, he's consistent that they never talk about drunk driving. And we've had some high profile ones. Olivia Passaretti, young child from East Greenwich, lost her life to that goon, Armis, who was behind the wheel. Of course, you have Matthew Dennison, which is a horrific story, the Newport firefighter who took the life, injured his friend, and then took his life. They now commit their life to it. Never hear Governor McKee talk about it. Just on election day, the Constitutional Convention, which I was in favor of, that was to relook at the Rhode Island Constitution. All of the powers that be voted no, leave it the way it is. And one of the reasons is Rhode Island, the way the Constitution is written, you can't do DUI checkpoints. You can in Connecticut, you can in Massachusetts, you can't do them in Rhode Island. Gee, what a shock that the party elites and Governor McKee all wanted to keep all of the DUI attorneys in business by voting no against the Constitutional Convention. So my point just really simply is I believe something like this, when someone puts an emoji, it's a reaction. It's kind of like when we were seeing, remember with the terrorism in Paris, people just put prayers for Paris as if you didn't do anything. I mean, that doesn't do anything. It's like you just make yourself feel good, like you did something. You didn't accomplish anything when they had the terrorism at the nightclub and so forth. Prayers for Paris. I really think there is consistently fatal crashes with alcohol involved, and there's no leadership in the state. Period. End of story. Nothing. And you're not going to get it with this administration. They've made that very clear. Folks, this portion of our program, now I do want to talk about the Gina Raimondo thing, because I think there's an interesting dynamic here that no one is mentioning. But this portion of our program is brought to you by AJ Home Improvement. If you're thinking of improving your home or business or workplace, call AJ Home Improvement today, 401-323-9252. Frame to finish basements, acoustical ceilings, new homes, additions, commercial rehabs, painting, remodeling. They do it all. AJ Home Improvement, 401-323-9252, 401-323-9252. Drywall, plasters, home improvement, they do it all. It's AJ Home Improvement, 401-323-9252. Well, folks, good afternoon at 1:21 on this Monday. This is the real news. Again, horrible in Narragansett. You hate to even see something like that. So avoidable. So some young person, poor decision making. Not 18, not 19, 26, 24. 4 people in the car, 2 survive. I mean, it's just horrific. But I want to just have you understand the Gina Raimondo story that the media loves now and blah, blah, blah. But here's the more we've dug into it. And I think Dan McGowan actually shed quite a bit of light on it. He had a great quote, and that's why I like talking to him. Dan McGowan said, it's not so much about hearing it that day. It's just I didn't hear anything about it the day before. And he's right. Because normally, if there's some truth to something like this, it starts bubbling under the surface. But what you need to know is whether people like her or not. And I get it. She's got a lot of people that don't like her, and for various reasons. But this is someone, I just find it intriguing that the people that are floating that out there, they're basically trying to pull her back in. But she's not. I mean, I don't see any scenario where it benefits her to run for governor. The more we've learned about it, it's more of whoever started the rumor, she knows who they are and then didn't want to insult them with it. But even if you don't like her and you step back, she who would want to come into this situation? You have the Trump administration in power. You have the federal funding is going to be slashed. You have a major problem with the bridge. She's not coming back. What I find just more intriguing about the Gina Raimondo coming back to run for governor rumor that took off is it says a lot about the people that are trying to pull her into their orbit. And actually, you know what else? I'm surprised. I mean, the Democrat Party is so broken right now. But I'm surprised that the Democrat Party of the media actually doesn't write about. I mean, I never use these terms, but I can't believe I'm about to say this, but it's true. But the sexism involved with this, with these men, because that's who's behind it, men that feel they're going to pull her in to handle the mess that McKee has started. And it's not women that are trying to do it, it's men. And it's the labor unions that are dominated by men. There's a couple, the only person that I've seen really go on the record on this was my friend Joe Paolino, who said, I wish she would come back and run Hasbro to keep them here. Now, who would that serve? Now, first of all, Hasbro's a private company. You don't just announce, oh, by the way, here's the new person running it. Boy, I'll tell you, the mob tendencies in this town never cease to amaze me, right? Where then, a member of organized crime shows up at a business and says, hey, partner, I want to meet my new partner. I'm your new partner. From now on, you're going to pay me X amount every week. I'm one of your partners. But anyhow, who would that serve? First of all, can you imagine Hasbro? Like, what is this? What? We have a CEO. She doesn't know anything about our business. No, we're not naming her. I mean, talk about trying to be a heavy-handed move to Hasbro. Number one, we're going to let you buy the land. Number two, we'd like you to meet your new CEO. No wonder Hasbro's like, that's it. We're going to Boston. You don't get to pick that. As much as I like Joe Paolino, and I do, and he's done a lot for downtown. As much as he's done that stuff, it's so self-serving. The only person that would benefit would be Joe. But when this rumor started, and then I believe Commerce Secretary Raimondo doesn't want to insult the people that started the rumor because she may need them in the future. It came from organized labor, and they're trying to pull her back into the orbit. They realize that Governor McKee is inept. They realize he could be defeated, and it's just such. She would be out of her. It doesn't match up with what her goals are. I mean, as much as she's a good sport about it, and I mean that, I think she's not saying anything because she doesn't want to insult the people that started the rumor. But if I were her, I mean, it's so, whether you like her or agree with her or not, number one, she's never lost an election. Number two, she wants to run for president in 2028, whether people realize that or not. And for people to say, well, treat her like she's George Bailey, who wants to go out and explore the world. No, we need you to run the Bailey Savings and Loans so we have someone to counterpart her. It'd be ludicrous. She's not coming back here. So, and there's part of me I think the media, local media, actually, they know that. And they're still putting it out there, which tells me that the people giving them the rumor hold power and are telling them, no, we want you to run with that. It's like a groundswell. We want to put pressure on her. She's not coming back here. Now, there's a very interesting development that is has taken place. Now, again, folks, good afternoon. 127, 128. This is the real news. This portion of our program, I received an email from Erin. Erin's planning a birthday party for her daughter and asked me, what is the name of the place that I recommend? She said, I don't remember if you said it was in Johnson or Cranston. It's right on the line, Erin. It's Kids Club on the Pike. Perfect for a youth birthday party. They have birthday parties or a team party, soccer team, football team, cheerleading team, gymnastics team, whatever. If a group of kids are going to get together, you want to take them to Kids Club on the Pike. It's safe. It's clean. It's designed for that. It's a party space with different rooms. There's rooms for 2-year-olds. There's 50 style diner where the kids can have whatever they're going to have, pizza and cake and sandwiches and ice cream and what have you. They also have before and after school programs, preschool programs. They have a room, a dance room. They have a movie theater room. They have an Xbox room. Kids Club on the Pike. The kids have a good time, and then there's no mess for you to clean up. Kids Club on the Pike. Perfect venue for that. Right off at 295. So people from all over the state can utilize Kids Club on the Pike, right on Plainfield Pike, second floor. It's clean. It's safe. It's Kids Club on the Pike. You're going to love it. Well, folks, good afternoon. Again, this is the real news. Let me just touch on, we will be active with Road Patrol Live later. Saturday night, it started off kind of slow, and then all of a sudden, there was a stabbing in Providence, and we know the area all too well, as I like to say. Unfortunately, embarrassingly, I knew exactly where it was. On Waverly in the West End. We go by that street at least 3 to 4 times a night. It's just part of being on patrol. But we got there, and then we were there. If you saw the video, it's pretty dramatic. The police are pulling up as we're already there. And that's always a goal with Road Patrol Live, is to be there before as I call it, before the tape goes up. There was a suspect. Providence police quickly got information, figured out where he was, went in, blah, blah, blah. They thought he was on the 3rd floor. He was hiding in the basement. You see them drag him out. You don't see anything like that. You don't see any coverage right there where I'm right there, and you can hear the guy. Not the most attractive. I heard he was voted most handsome at Guatemala High, but he's making squeaking sounds. The cuffs, but they're right there. And then last night there was again. Sometimes things start off a little slow. We're patient. We pace ourselves. Suddenly we ended up. There was an altercation off Academy Avenue, and then somebody thought somebody had a firearm, and so both vehicles start leaving the scene, and the police are there, and then language barrier again. Surprise, surprise. Much like Saturday night, there was a language barrier, and then just as I was thinking, you know what? I think I'll just call it a night and watch the second half of the Chargers game against the Bengals. Instead, there was someone robbed at knife point at the 7-Eleven right on Cranston Street, right on the Providence-Cranston line. And not only did we go, and they took his bike, cash in his bike. Not only did we go there, then they got a tip where the suspects may be, and there's a homeless encampment under the bridge. Then there were Providence police on scene. Then Cranston police entered the scene because it was technically their jurisdiction. And then they drag out 2 of the perpetrators, one of them who only had socks on. So, hey, I think that's better content than anything that you're going to see on the local news. Folks, again, Road Patrol Live. We will have all the video up on the website this afternoon. Obviously, if you're on some of the platforms. I'm pretty sure it's on YouTube. I think it may not be, but we'll make sure we get it up there. And then it's definitely on Facebook. So should be another good week. Should be another good week with the dry weather with Road Patrol Live. Folks, this portion of our program, I want to remind you about J. Perry Paving. Call them today. High quality, fair pricing, exceptional service, 20 years experience, specialized commercial paving, residential paving, seal coating, and patios. Call J. Perry Paving today. Are you thinking of paving your driveway or maybe your parking lot? Call them. Request a quote, J. Perry Paving, 401-732-1730. 401-732-1730, letter J, J. Perry Paving. Now, some news over the weekend. Ready? This is the real news. I'll give you the news that no one else is going to give you for various reasons. They just don't get into it. But over the past year, ICE Boston has been pretty aggressive. Now, they're understaffed. They don't have as many people as they would like. And they've had this back and forth with that it's not just Rhode Island Governor Dan McKee, but Massachusetts Governor Maura Healey is another one that they don't cooperate. They don't cooperate. So what do I mean about that? So what I mean is that ICE Boston, they will learn that there is an undocumented individual who is then in custody. So I want to get to you. This happened in February. McKee fires back at Nerona over ICE detainee dispute. So Attorney General Peter Nerona said, what are we supposed to do? Guatemalan detainee released from Rhode Island court leads to question. So I'm going to give you the short version of this. Okay, this was a story that was in the Providence Journal. And here's the part that no one really, or Governor McKee doesn't, but Governor McKee claims, we had no choice when the state of Rhode Island released a Guatemalan man accused of child molestation who was wanted by immigration authorities. So ICE Boston is led by Todd Lyons. So hear me out. No one else is going to tell you this. So they're understaffed. So when they learn that you had this Guatemalan child molester in custody, and then somehow he makes bail, they say to the McKee people, hold him. We want to come and get him. We will come and pick him up. But instead, Governor McKee instructs the state police and the ACI. What does he say? I'm not going to turn them into custom officials. So he sets them free. Now, the child molester, that guy was repeatedly arrested for doing that. And McKee still set him free. So here's the part that you need to know that no one else is going to tell you. That's why this is the real news and Road Patrol Live. So Todd Lyons, who runs a really tight ship, ICE Boston, I can tell you, they didn't appreciate Governor McKee poking them in the eye. And McKee folks, so brazen. I mean, the guy is just so full of himself. Like, hey, I'm the governor, and don't tell me what to do. And they'd call and say, well, you have 15 minutes to get him, or we're going to release him. And then ICE Boston, I know for a fact, would say, well, that's unreasonable. Like, we can't even get across town in Boston in 15 minutes. We can't get down there in 15 minutes. Why don't you hold him overnight? No, 15 minutes. And then Governor McKee would say, well, we held them. They didn't come. So I'll tell you that, now again, Todd Lyons would say, no, blah, blah, blah. He wouldn't go on the record with this. But I'm telling you, there's people in that office, they don't forget something like that. And especially when you're trying to do a job and you have someone like Governor McGreed and Sabina Matos, right? And they're purposely making your job more difficult by not only not cooperating, but on top of that, it's the spiking the ball in the end zone, so to speak. It's the no, we're not going to hold them that long. We'll unfortunately you couldn't get there in time, so we had to we had to let him go. So now I know Todd Lyons, who runs ICE Boston. I'm seeing some other people that are posting on him. Todd Lyons, they're thinking of putting him in charge of all of ICE. And there's some things that are lining up right now that I don't think enough people are paying attention to. And that is, folks, that now think about this. um, in my mind, Governor McKee is putting all of us in danger. Fox News is reporting that Todd Lyons, Boston field office for ICE, is the top of the list to be nominated as the next ICE director. And he was recently promoted. I'll tell you one thing about Todd Lyons. He knows the name Dan McKee. He knows the name. You remember someone that made your job more difficult, poke you in the eye, and then played little games. Oh, yeah, we'll hold him. Come and get him. They go, oh, nope, you just missed him. We let him go. So now Tom Homan is very familiar with Todd Lyons. I mean, a lot of people in law enforcement are. But, folks, Todd Lyons and Tom Homan. So Lyons currently serves as ICE Enforcement and Removal Operations Field Office Director in Boston, leading the effort to apprehend illegal immigrant criminals. Many have been released back into the streets of Boston. Slew of high-profile sex offenders nabbed by the unit. Consequences of a sanctuary city. He's emerging as the favorite to helm the agency. His experience with sanctuary cities, something to be a top priority. Folks, my point is in this. Brandon Judd is another person. Anyone that has watched when we've done some of our broadcasts from DC, I've had Brandon Judd on. If I saw Brandon Judd, he knows exactly who I've interviewed him a half dozen times. Same thing with Tom Homan. I got a nice note from someone that works with Tom Homan. Said, hang in there. Folks, what we could be looking at, and just hear me out. And again, this is one of those things that no one else is going to tell you about. But if you are really looking at, we want to go after criminals and deport them. This was told to me over the weekend. Would you do it? All right, so you're going to try it. You're going to start it. You have to start somewhere. There's going to be some working out the kinks, right, of how you're going to do the operations. Would you do it in a high-profile place like New York or Chicago? Probably not, because there's no room for error. So you need some training games. You almost need like some exhibition games. You need to test out what you're going to do with the people, see what works, what doesn't work before you hit the ground running. So let's look at it. Would you do it in New York or Chicago? Too high profile. You make a mistake, everyone knows. Would you do it in LA? Again, I would argue too high profile. You make a mistake and it's everywhere. So you want to have some exhibition games, preseason games, where you want to get everybody, let's see how it's going to work. Let's try this out. What about Boston? Maybe Boston, but still pretty high profile. Let's see, who runs a sanctuary state? Be a little off the radar that you could try some of this. How about Rhode Island? How about Providence, Rhode Island? How about the governor of Rhode Island that would go out of his way to make your life more difficult? I'm telling you. I mean, you think Tom Homan cares? He doesn't care. You think Todd Lyons, he's had to deal with McKee's nonsense for a long time. What the local media refuses to tell you that I do, and I post about it, I've written about it. Rhode Island is viewed and treated as a sanctuary state. Just if Governor McKee is asked, is Rhode Island a sanctuary state? What does he say? No. If Brett Smiley is asked, you run a sanctuary city, what does he know? I'm telling you, if I want to really and I do, we are, it needs to change, by the way. Now, there are some states that don't play ball like that, right? That don't. Texas doesn't. Florida doesn't. But let me and you can do this at home. Is Rhode Island a sanctuary state? Here's what it says. Raimondo calling upon her reverse permits Rhode Island to harbor illegal migrants, made it a virtual sanctuary state. God bless me. It was the executive order from Chafee. Raimondo kept it going. In 2014, Governor Lincoln Chafee signed an executive order protecting illegals. No one in local media will highlight that except for yours truly. Why? Because it's true. That's why. But it's as if they don't want to acknowledge it. Now, here's what McKee tries to do. McKee tries to hide in the background. And their strategy is, if we say that we're not, then maybe they'll just leave us alone. The states that are, in fact, sanctuary states are California, Colorado, Connecticut, could be another state they try, Illinois, because of Chicago, Massachusetts, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, Rhode Island. Folks, I mean, it's right there. And it goes to, do you live in one of the 11 sanctuary states? And who's on the list? California's at the top. I get that. Colorado, Connecticut, Illinois, Massachusetts, New Jersey, New York. Oh, Oregon as well. Rhode Island. In 2014, Chafee directed the state executive agencies and its Department of Corrections to stop honoring federal immigration detainers without a court order. There's the difference. In 2017, 2018, state lawmakers failed to pass a bill barring ICE personnel and custom from entering schools, hospitals, courthouses without a judicial warrant. State has approximately 100,000 illegals that make up 10% of the population of the state. And then there are some other states, Vermont, Washington are friendly to them. But my point is, no one talks about it. We're on the list. And the real evidence is come on. It's the driving privileges. And if you heard our segment last hour with the DMV, which has, what a surprise, they have their own segment down the dial on WMcKeeRO. The DMV says, oh, in our database, we can't figure out, we have it designed that we have no idea how many driver's privileges, which are really licenses, we give out to undocumented people. Which, number one, I don't believe. Number two, if they had to, they could absolutely figure it out. But what you really need to look at is McKee Matos. They actually went into a conference room and said, we want to create a system where no one can track how many illegals are getting driver's licenses in Rhode Island. Folks, that's done by design. That wasn't an accident. That wasn't, oh, by the way. They did that on purpose. They created that on purpose. By design is probably a better word than on purpose. But I'm telling you right now, Tom Homan, that guy does not fool around. He is the real deal. And Todd Lyons, they know the business. They're going to get more staff. So maybe it would be Connecticut. But I just think there's definitely a score to settle, probably also in Massachusetts, with the way that they have been treated by these states. And folks, you know, McKee and Matos, it's the golden rule. Whoever has the gold rules. There are certain states that are thriving that are not as reliant on federal aid and federal money coming in. Rhode Island is not one of them. Certainly not one of them. So, but as I've also talked about, I just don't hear, and I'm going to touch on the bridge in a minute, I don't hear anyone talk about that I believe a sanctuary state also sets up an aura of lawlessness. It does. When people don't have to follow the rules. You saw Saturday night where, look at Providence Police, needed a Spanish-speaking officer. Same thing with last night, right? You had someone that looked like that guy looked like he just arrived. in the country. Now, the person that they arrested with, Victor, right, squeaking. I mean, do you really think that guy went through the process and he's got his, no, 100% no. Is that someone that should be on the streets of Providence stabbing someone? No. But under Governor McKee, you can't do anything about it. I know that the elected Republicans of the Rhode Island State House, they just don't see it as an issue. We learned across the country with the election, it's an issue that people care about. It is. Folks, this portion of the program, and I am going to talk about the bridge, is watched by Watson Materials. Largest selection of landscape materials in Rhode Island is Watson Materials, located South County Trail. Beautiful what they can do outside. Call them for a request to quote Watson Materials. Order hardscapes, mulch, loam, decorative stone online. The complete selection of landscape materials in Rhode Island is Watson Materials. 401-885-0600. They have a great Facebook page. It's Watson Materials, landscape lighting, pavers, retaining walls, natural stone, cobblestone, decorative stone, Watson Materials. Find them online at watsonmulch.com. Watson Materials. Call them 401-885-0600. Before I mention the bridge, I also just want to mention that what you saw Saturday night, and you're seeing in the NFL fields, is President Trump's not in office yet, but there's been a culture change. There's been a culture change in our country, and I think it's a positive one. And I'm not convinced that we're seeing it necessarily in our area of the country, Rhode Island and Massachusetts. But Saturday night, a sold-out event, Madison Square Garden, and Friday night was a total fraud with the boxing fiasco of whoever. I mean, ridiculous, Tyson and Logan Paul. But Joe Rogan's ringside, and who gets a standing ovation? But President Trump. And John Jones, who I believe is considered, the top fighter, he does the Trump dance to YMCA in the ring. He gives the president his belt. There's been a culture shift, and you could kind of see it coming. People that like Yellowstone, people that like Morgan Wallen, people that say you don't have to apologize for being a white male. You don't have to apologize for being a male. You don't have to apologize for being a white male. You don't have to apologize for being a guy and like guy things. And there is a difference. All you keep being told is there is a difference. That election on the steps of William Hall Library was Donnie Anderson, the Reverend, a grown man with long hair, wearing a dress, saying, "I'm no longer Donald. My name is Donnie." And people nodding, saying, "Yes, he is a woman." He's not a woman. He's a man dressed as a woman. He's also, to show you how out of touch Rhode Island Democrat Party is, he became elected the head of the Democrat Women's Caucus. They're lost. There's no leadership. So he's standing I was there. It was uncomfortable to watch. The embarrassment. Trans rights are people, whatever, humans rights and pronoun. What are your pronouns? The whole thing. America said, I can't stand it. I've had enough. We like football. There's men like things. Women like certain things that men don't like. And there's nothing wrong with it. There's men, there's women. Stop apologizing. The Democrat Party in Rhode Island is the party of apologists. It's the party of shame on you and being lectured and pronouns. And you have to hey, why is he in the girls' locker room? Steve is in the girls' locker room. No, his name's not Steve. His name is now Stone. And he grew his hair into a ponytail. So now he wants to be in the girls' locker room. It's insanity. It's Butler material. It's Teachers Union of Rhode Island encouraging 12-year-old kids. You'd be happier as a boy. You'd be happier as a girl. Total insanity. Irreversible damage to their bodies. And the Democrat Party, Governor McKee, well, the parents should not have a say in this. The parents absolutely should have a say in this. Matos, it's nobody's business but the teacher and the child. You're wrong. They're not your children, Lieutenant Governor Matos. Seth Magaziner, we should put in that children, we should cover the cost of this gender-changing surgery. Wrong. Parents should have a say in this. That's ridiculous. Seth Magaziner, Gabe Almo, children should not have to tell their parents. It's between them and the teacher. Again, they're not your children. Ridiculous. Don't you understand? People in the media, for some reason, Rhode Island, more people voted for Trump. More people wanted, even in Central Falls, they wanted for Trump. It is absolutely insanity. That's what the party is. And there's Seth Magaziner, the congressman. He couldn't even vote for himself. He couldn't even vote for himself because he doesn't even live in the district. Maybe not everyone wants to use pronouns. Why should young males be ashamed they're a young male? You have a young girl. She's white. And you have a teacher. You should be ashamed of yourself. Providence Public School teachers. Your grandparents are racist. Your parents are racist. You should be ashamed of yourselves. Folks, don't you understand? Look at Massachusetts right now. 3 communities are out on strike. What? It's November. And they wonder why people are folks, school choice is coming. There's no worse. It is disgraceful in Providence Public Schools. They're worse than they were in 2019. Worse. It's not about learning. It's about a money grab for adults. The kids, it's expensive daycare. There's no one learning. No one wants to be there. They all want to go to charter schools. But boy, when those teachers unions go up to the den of thieves on Smith Hill, treated like royalty, folks, it's coming to a head. How many people do you know say, I can't wait to move out of here? It either has to be changed or people are just leaving in exodus. But I'm telling you, we certainly don't have the leaders in place, right? We certainly don't have the leaders. Governor McKee, he's not a leader. He's an elected official. It's the Peter principle. He's so far in over his head. You know what else? One other thing I want to make a point on, and I was telling this to someone in the Trump transition team over the weekend, is so in Rhode Island, McKee, there's too many people. I'll give you an example. There's too many people that work for the state or have jobs with the cities and towns. So with Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, they want to slice through a lot of that. There's too much government waste. In Rhode Island, we're way too government heavy. Way too many people that work for the state, work for cities and towns. So as a result of that, Governor McKee, he's not friendly to business. So they chase the business out. But my point is, if not as many people had jobs with the state or the cities and towns, they would have to be more business friendly because they would need more private sector jobs coming in. So it's backwards. McKee says, well, we don't need private industry. We're just going to give everybody state jobs or city jobs. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work efficiently that way. Wrong. You have it backwards. It's private industry that should be providing the jobs instead of everything's with the taxpayers. Everything's with the, well, we need a new library. Oh, we need a new school. Oh, we need a new police station. All taxpayer-funded operations. You don't see any private companies building any businesses. Boston is different. Boston is a lot of building. You know what? Newport's actually different. Newport has a lot of private money of people building things. But Providence, the capital city, is not. Folks, this portion of our program is brought to you by JD's Lawn Care Tree Service. If you need someone to trim some trees, or maybe do a complete cleanup of your leaves, call JD's Lawn Care, 401-441-0154. Landscape Company, 401-441-0154. I share their Facebook page. It's JD's Lawn Care and Tree for Service. Get those trees trimmed. Call them today, JD's Lawn Care and Tree Service, 401 441 0154. There's been a change. There's been a cultural change. And people clearly don't like the direction things were going. How about also we're learning? Do you know the Harris campaign was basically spending $100 million a week? I'm not exaggerating. $100 million a week. That's how much that. What do you think it would have been like if she was the president? The Harris campaign was burning through $100 million a week. 107 days of the campaign. Now, here's the thing about that. That's who Governor McKee voted for. That's who Sheldon Whitehouse voted for. That's who Gabe Amo voted for. That's who Lieutenant Governor Matos voted for. Kamala Harris was so inept. You know what? She's exactly what I thought she was, which is an unserious person who is not qualified for the job. And they ran Biden out, and they thought, and now Nancy Pelosi is saying she wasn't supposed to be the nominee, but Biden got revenge by saying she has my endorsement. So they couldn't even pull that together. But I am telling you right now, this is a time for people in our area to be vocal, because the Democrat Party is broken and there's no cavalry coming. They are lost without a paddle completely. Teachers strike. Ludicrous. Kids out. We want a contract. Total insanity. All right, folks, we're going to be doing Road Patrol Live later. If you are listening to the radio, stay tuned for the 2 o'clock news. We're going to be back tomorrow at 11 o'clock. In the meantime, enjoy this Monday, November 18th. And again, if you're listening to the radio, stand by for the 2 o'clock news, Road Patrol Live later.